What is up, everyone? This is the Jose Show. I hope everyone's having a fantastic Tuesday. Well. It is nice and sunny here, and I really do love it because like I said before, I'm sick and tired of the cold weather. Well, anywho, this is pretty cool how huge this show has gone, especially now that I noticed that my last episode of the Jose Show got over almost 4,000 views. And that is the most views this show has ever gotten. The most. And I would love to thank you, the fans, for supporting me and for loving me in this journey that I'm in. And I am going to be doing more and more and even more of this show now that I know how much acceptance this show is having from you guys, the audience. So thank you from the bottom of my heart. Well, anywho, we have a lot to air on. We have a lot to talk about on today's episode of the Jose Show. So let's get started. Alrighty then, let's start with Whitney Houston. Whitney Houston is going to have a show on CBS. It's called Whitney: A Look Back, featuring never before seen interviews from the one and only Whitney Houston. And the show is going to be aired by CBS. And um, The 1 hour special will include lost performances and rare moments with Houston, alongside new interviews with those closest to her, including Dionne Warwick, Clive Davis, CeCe Winans, Monica, and Kelly Price. In addition, the special will explore new details about the days leading up to and following her death on February 11th of 2012. Whitney, a look back comes as the world marks 10 years since her tragic passing. And E.T. spoke with Monica earlier this year about Houston's influence over her, and she broke down in tears. The past 10 years is like 10 minutes or 10 days to me, she said. When I think about Whitney, the first thing that I pictured is her smile. It was something that, believe it or not, she never lost. No matter what was happening, her smile was the first thing you saw, even on a sad day. She would smile at you first, selflessness, that was her. Okay, well, this is really cool that they're doing a show for Whitney Houston because honestly, Whitney Houston, she deserves it in my opinion. The woman is is still an icon even though she's dead. She's still an icon. We still remember her. Her music especially is still remembered, highly remembered. And the lovely Whitney Houston, she also did so much for her fans. She did so many sold out shows for her fans. She did so many um, beautiful interviews and has said so many good things about her fans and about the people around her. And she always, has been said just now that she always brought that smile to everyone around her in order to bring up that positivity to everyone around her. And let's just not forget the amount of time that she has won Grammys. She has even broken records with her music. Um, let's not forget the iconic outfits that she wore to all of these award shows that she attended, especially the Grammys. At the Grammys, she was always on point, especially the Grammys. And also, Whitney Houston, she also had a very powerful, not just a powerful voice, but also a powerful personality when it came to confronting anything that would get in her way and anything that would try to um, get her down into the floor. So Whitney Houston was a powerhouse, not just in her music, but also in her own personality. And then another thing that I have to say is unfortunately, a lot of people they go off and focus on the bad things from her. And I really hope that this show doesn't really focus more on the bad things from her and they focus more on the good things from her because as the Whitney Houston, because the Whitney Houston fans, they want to see the good things from her. They don't want to see the bad things. They don't want to remember the bad things. I mean, yes, it's true. Whitney Houston had her lows throughout her life, especially because she was a drug addict, and unfortunately, she passed away due to a drug overdose and her drowning in her bathtub in a hotel room. But at the same time, I mean, those horrible moments, yet again, I feel like they should just not, they shouldn't be remembered as much. They should just be, left aside because it's just too saddening to remember those types of things. It really is, regardless of how much it's the truth. So, anywho, to those of you that are huge fans of Whitney Houston, please do not miss this 1 hour special of Whitney A Look Back, which will be aired on CBS um, on April 2nd at 8 p.m. Eastern Pacific. So, stay tuned. Alrighty then, so from Whitney Houston to now, more hot topics. Bob Saget incident report details the hours leading up to comedian's death. Well, as we all know, the beloved Bob Saget, who played Danny Tanner on the hit 90s sitcom Full House, passed away 2 months ago due to a skull fractures that went on, and he passed away in his hotel room over in Florida in the middle of a comedy tour. Well, anywho, the Orange County Sheriff's Office on today released the final incident report about Bob Saget's death investigation, and it shed light on the hours that led up to the comedian's untimely death and what may have caused the multiple skull fractures and abrasions to his scalp. According to the incident report obtained by ET, authorities interviewed a total of 7 people, including the medical examiner, to determine a minute-by-minute account into Saget's final hours. From the time the comedian arrived at his Jacksonville, Florida show to housekeeping using an emergency room key to enter his hotel room before he was found dead on January 9th. A Hard Rock Live employee told authorities he spent time with Saget in his green room prior to his performance. The employee said they talked about rowdy audience members and upcoming projects. Saget, who requested that Diet Coke and Diet Red Bull he stocked in his green room, was talkative during the time in the green room with the employee. Saget was only slated to perform for an hour, but authorities were told the comedian ended up performing for almost 2 hours. Afterward, the comedian stayed for an extra hour and a half. A promoter later told authorities that Saget enjoyed the show and was high on life, while a production coordinator told police that at no point did I think anything was wrong because Saget chatted with everyone and he had a good time talking with everyone. That sentiment was echoed later when another employee told police that Saget, despite still recovering from COVID, felt okay and laughed with those near him. That employee also said she didn't notice anything amiss with Saget, adding, he wasn't sweaty, didn't miss a beat, and his language was drawn out, nothing slurred. He came out very energetic, very much entertaining the crowd. Saget would later arrive at the Ritz-Carlton in Orlando and spent nearly 10 minutes chatting with the employee at the valet service who parked his rental car. The valet employee said he immediately recognized Saget after opening the door and greeting him. Their conversation, according to the incident report, included Saget telling the valet employee he was flying out early the next morning to see his family and how he had just finished a show in Jacksonville. The employee then asked Saget if they could take a selfie, and the comedian agreed. The employee told police Saget was very friendly, outgoing, and seemed to enjoy talking to people. When asked if he had noticed anything was amiss during his encounter with the actor, the valet employee said Saget seemed fine and did not see any evidence of slurred speech, balance issues, or anything that would cause concern. In an interview with police, the medical examiner explained that the amount of force necessary to cause Saget's multiple skull fractures, coupled with the fact that the skin on the back of his head was still intact, led him to believe that the injury was most likely caused by something hard, covered by something soft. And the example the medical examiner gave was akin to falling on a carpeted floor. Furthermore, the medical examiner stated that the fracture would have stunned Mr. Saget, and even if the bleeding occurred slowly, Mr. Saget would have noticed symptoms such as dizziness, and there would have been signs that there were obvious um, to those around him, such as issues with confusion, balance, and slash or slurred speech. All right. Well, police informed the medical examiner that Saget had apparently driven himself back from Jacksonville, Florida, approximately a 2-hour drive, prompting the medical examiner to state flatly that Mr. Saget could have made any type of extended drive with the injury he sustained. Alrighty then. This is a pretty intense topic. And that was a pretty long story right there. What I think about the whole entire situation is that Bob Saget, he didn't know that this was going to cause him to die, and he thought that this was something completely minor, and that he was like, okay, well, I'm just gonna go to my hotel room and I'm gonna just rest, and then in the next morning I will feel better. You know, it's no big deal. It's whatever. So it's really whatever. That's what came through his head, which is what led him to go to his hotel room and not go to a emergency room immediately. So that's what ended up happening there. And another thing is that the way he was talking to people, the way he was, just wanting to just rest, and and he was just having in his mind that, oh, I had a great night in my comedy show and this and that. What could possibly go wrong now? I mean, that's another thing that really convinced him into thinking, well, you know what? I know that I'm gonna live. Um, I'm gonna survive this. I'm gonna survive this injury. I know it's whatever, especially because, I mean, to him, I mean, he really thought that since he he seemed like such a strong guy. I mean, he really thought that nothing was going to go wrong with him and that everything was just going to continue to be fine with him. So that's another thing. So it was all confidence. It was all his thought of thinking things that really led him to not really see an emergency, to go to an emergency room immediately, unfortunately. But if he was more aware of this situation, then we would have still had him here in this world with us, and things would have been different. But oh well, may Bob Saget rest in peace. He'll forever be remembered as the good old Danny Tanner from the sitcom Full House, and of course be remembered for many other things, not just for being on Full House, especially as a lovely, wonderful comedian. Alrighty then, from Bob Saget to now other news. So now let's talk about Hailey Bieber. As we all know, Hailey Bieber was hospitalized this past weekend due to a brain condition that happened in her brain, and it was believed that the brain condition was caused due to COVID. Well, thank God, Hailey Bieber is doing way better. Things did not get super major with the model and with Justin Bieber's wife. But however, it did scare Hailey Bieber a lot, and it did lead to Hailey Bieber, having to go to the emergency room to get it treated. And it was believed that blood clots were happening in her brain. So, anywho, um, it all happened on Saturday, and she was eating breakfast with husband Justin Bieber. on Thursday morning when Bieber shared on Saturday that the both of them were eating breakfast, and on Thursday morning when she started having stroke-like symptoms and was taken to the hospital. Well, anywho, their doctors found that she had suffered a very small blood clot to her brain, which led to a small lack of oxygen. Bieber's body was able to pass the blood clot on its own, she explained, and she recovered completely within a few hours. Blood clots like Bieber's can form for different reasons, both environmental and genetic. Dr. Shazam Hussain, the director of the Cerebrovascular Center at Cleveland Clinic, tells many sources. And it's important to know your health and any potential risk factors you might have for strokes, like high blood pressure, high cholesterol, difficulty with sugars. When we have younger people having a stroke, we will look for things that would cause their blood to have a tendency to clot. It could be hereditary and run in their families. That's another thing that the doctor even said. With blood clots that move to the brain, they typically originate from a blocked blood vessel in a spot in the body like the neck, or directly from the heart, Hussain also said. And once in the brain, the organ that's most sensitive to lack of blood flow, the lack of oxygen will cause the brain function to shut down and cause stroke-like symptoms. Those symptoms can be spotted with the acronym BFAST: B for balance, E for eyes and having vision trouble, F for face drooping, A for arm or limb weakness, S for speech difficulty, and T for time. And that's when things got very bad for Hailey Bieber. But thank God that now she's doing so much better and things did not get any worse with her. So I really feel relieved. I feel happy for Hailey Bieber and of course for Justin Bieber as well, because of course I know Justin Bieber was feeling awful, of course, to see his wife going through a situation like that, you know. And then one of the worst things ever is, you know, to lose your own spouse. I mean, and that is something that of course Justin did not want, you know. So thank God though for the doctors, thank God for the paramedics to be on the lookout and to take good care of people, especially of these young people out there that are going through situations like that. Thank the Lord. Hailey, we love you. You are awesome. You and your husband are both awesome. And yeah, that is all I have to say. Alrighty then. So from Hailey Bieber to now another topic. So now let's talk about the 90s Day fiancés, Ben Rathbun, who reportedly got arrested for probation violation. Well, this morning, the 90s Day fiancé star Ben Rathbun got arrested for a probation violation in Michigan, and the 52-year-old reality star's arrest stems from his 2020 arrest for OWAI, operating while ability impaired, for which he was sentenced to 18 months probation. According to TMZ, who was first to report the news, he was scheduled for a probation violation hearing in February, but he did not appear, which resulted in the judge issuing a bench warrant. With his arrest on Tuesday stemmed from the bench warrant from his original OWAI case in 2020. His bond has been set for $10,000. His next court hearing is scheduled for March 21st. Alrighty then. Well, all I have to say about this is when you are having a hearing and when you are scheduled to go to court, you need to go to court. You cannot miss that at all. That is mandatory. Okay? Like, you really, especially if you're on probation, Like, for real. Because, I mean, the law is the law, and we all have to follow the law, you know? Um, and, I mean, the more you follow with the law, the more you're criminal. The more you are not gonna have, the more you're gonna have a clean history in legally, and you're not gonna end up getting affected in any way legally. So that's something that this person should have thought before doing something stupid like this. So that's all I have to say. But anywho, some people will just make poor mistakes, especially when it comes to the law. Alrighty then, that is it for today's show, you guys. I hope you guys enjoyed today's episode of The Jose Show. Please follow me on social media, and I'll be back with more hot tea on next time on tomorrow's episode, so please stay tuned. See ya.